going on YouTube? FXR Brooklyn is back in the building. And a question that I got asked recently, which is actually a common question that I've been asked before in both my YouTube videos as well as my Instagram, which is the classic, hey bro, I'm coming off of my first bike. It's usually someone coming off of a Sportster or something like that. And they're asking me if they had to choose between going in on an FXR or going in on a DYNA, which one do they think they should do? Now, I get why I get that question. I am somebody that owns both the early year DYNA, the late year DYNA, which I'm on right now, and a late 80s FXR. So I have the frame of reference to kind of make content that might be useful to someone in that situation. So I thought the question that has been asked multiple times does warrant a video for someone that's in that position. And I think I've made videos before that kind of answer this question when I'm on my FXR talking about FXR life. But here's the lowdown. Here's what I would say. You know, if you're in a situation where it's going to be your main bike, you know, either your DYNA or your FXR, then there's some questions I would ask you, right? So, the first question is, what kind of riding do you plan on doing, right? If you mostly plan on doing riding like I'm doing right now, like back roads in the mountains, you know, roads like this, little twisties, you know, maybe you're doing like on average between 50 and I don't know 75 miles per hour, like that's what you're doing. You're not really blasting into triple digits, you're not blasting heavy highway mile days, right? Then the FXR actually might be the bike for you, right? I kind of find that out of all three of the bikes that I ride, in the riding that I'm doing right now, which is backcountry roads, back mountain twisties, that's the bike that I actually enjoy riding the most in that situation, right? So that might be a compelling reason if that's the riding that you plan on doing. However, if you plan on doing bike trips and you plan on doing heavy highway mile days, or you plan on just doing really high speed highway miles, right? The FXR might not be the best bike for the job. That's where I think the DYNA, whether it's the early DYNA or the late year DYNA, is going to excel significantly over an FXR in that situation, right? Now, if you're married to the FXR, you love the legacy, you love all the hype around it, because they're hyped now more than ever, surprisingly. But if you're married to the FXR, and you still want to do bike trips, and you still want to do heavy highway miles or high speeds, there's ways that you could modify the FXR to make it do that, right? You know, check out Sal Badfoot's YouTube channel. He's the dude that works on my FXR and keeps it running, and he does a lot of swaps where he'll pull out the Evo and put in an entire twin cam drivetrain, and you do that, and now all of a sudden you have an FXR frame that could do the same thing that an early year DYNA is going to do, which is endless highway miles, and be happy to do it. Whereas my FXR with an Evo drivetrain, right, late 80s, you know, it's not the best transmission as opposed to the early 90s, that thing does not want to be winding out on the highway all day. That's when I start to break things on that bike. So it's not the best purpose for that bike. So again, I don't want to deter you. If you are really married to the idea of having an FXR and you see yourself maybe doing bike trips on it, it's doable, 100%. But you just got to make sure that you go through the correct avenues to set it up to do that, right? Now, on its face, I would say if you're someone that's doing a diversity of riding, right? That might be, maybe you're doing like suburban rides, maybe you're doing urban rides like I do in Brooklyn, and then you're hitting heavy highway miles sometimes, and maybe you're doing bike trips sometimes. Like if you're in a real diverse set of circumstances and I had to pick the DYNA or the FXR, for true diversity, I would probably pick the DYNA, and that's either the early DYNA or the late DYNA, which I'm on right now. Now, to split hairs even further, right, what I will say is if you're caught between either the early year pre-06 or the late year, which I'm on right now, which is after 06, and you're wondering which one you should go through, if you're like someone who's doing that diversity riding, maybe you're doing heavy highway miles, etc., and you're wondering, you know, which one do I get? For me personally, I would say if you are doing more highway miles than any other type of riding, if you're doing heavy highway miles, high speeds on the highway, right, I would 100% tell you to get the late year after 06 dyno, which is this, right? You can blast super high speeds, you'll be good, right? And what I've also noticed is that I've had an 06 dyna and a 2016, and I've also noticed that those two frames, right, experience the dyna wobble significantly less than the early year dyna, which is my 2001 FXDX. This dyna that I'm on right now, actually, I've never experienced the dyna wobble on this bike, ever. It's just never happened. And that was even when it was stock. It's never had the dyna wobble, so it's not true that they all do it. Like, that is a myth, but the myth is true that a lot of them, if not most of them, do it. For some reason, this one that I'm on right now has never had it. But then I talk to people who have had the same year and model, and they have experienced it. So I think it comes down to the weight of the rider. I think it comes down to a whole bunch of different factors, right? But again, if you're in the real middle of the road and you actually do a little bit of everything, and you're going to do some highway miles, you know, you're definitely going to be on the highway, but it's not going to be what you're doing most of the time, then I would say get your early year dyna, because that thing, you know, I love throwing that thing around the city. I love ripping that thing on the highway. It's just 100% you're gonna start to get the dyna wobble when you're getting over 80 miles per hour on the highway. And then if you're getting high winds too, that's also a factor. So just some things to take into consideration. Alright, I'm gonna get off the bike now. I'm gonna go inside to this Stewart shop and get myself some hydration before I hit some heavy highway miles. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or if you're someone that has ridden both, let me know what you think. Stay safe, stay low, and on that, FXCLS Brooklyn is out.